Little. Okay, so we're switching it up. And I believe Mandy's going to give a testimony about her time in Italy, in Korea, because I think he's doing both Korea and Italy. So we'll get a lot of variety this Sunday morning, so which is lovely. So can I all please welcome up Eli Lowe.
All right, everyone. Happy Sunday. It's quite a nice day today compared to our snowfall. Anyone get snow where they were? Or is everyone too? Yeah, okay. So lovely spring Irish weather, a bit of snow in the middle. But yeah, today I really want to talk about one of my favorite topics. Thanks for coming in late, Sam. So yeah, one of my favorite topics, which is matching and blessing. I think it's very much a matching and blessing time period for our movement. So it's it's a topic I love to talk about. And it's kind of, it's kind of what happens because everyone gets married on the same day, then kids tend to be kind of born around the same time, give or take a few months. And so you kind of have waves of like groups of kids, right? And we're seeing that in our own community, having like a bit of a baby boom, right? And then we're also having a matching and blessing boom, and then we'll have another baby boom in a few years, right? So I've talked about this before, but yeah, it's kind of an exciting time. But yeah, when we talk about matching and blessing, it's actually such an important topic, right? It's such a kind of personal, in some ways very impersonal, but also very, very important because in many ways our happiness depends on it. Right? Our happiness in this world really depends on how we form our relationships, right? And especially how we form in many ways, the most important relationship, which is the relationship with our spouse, the relationship that we end up spending the most time in, right? And becomes the foundation for building a family, building a lineage, right? And I've always, my own view about the blessing is it's really, in a way, the core test of our faith, right? It's really the question of what do we really believe when it comes to matching and blessing? For a while you can kind of follow your parents, for a while you can go to workshops and have fun with your friends. But when it comes to matching and blessing, it's really, because it's such an important topic, because it's kind of the core element of your own happiness in your own life, it becomes something that is suddenly very, very serious, right? It's a make or break moment, right? And I've seen, of course, growing up as one of the older second gen, I'm kind of in the second wave of second gen because there's obviously the second gen before 1982 blessing and then the second gen after 1982 blessing in America. Europe has a little bit different waves. But I've seen that the blessing really becomes a test of faith, right? Do you really believe in true parents, right? Is that why you're going to the blessing? Is that your understanding of the blessing? Or is there other kind of reasons or other kind of motivations kind of mixed in? And another thing I think that's very important about the blessing is, in many ways, we're kind of learning from our parents, or we're inheriting from our parents, both the good and the bad, right? So our view on relationships or our struggle relationships is always going to kind of be tied to how we were raised in our families, right? There's that kind of direct correlation between our parents' relationship and our own relationships. And in many ways, this is kind of how I see restoration, that every generation is becoming better than their parents, right? And I think that's what every parent wants, right? They really want to see their kids do better than themselves. So all this is kind of, a core element of the blessing. The blessing is kind of so important for our lives of faith. I don't think that can even be overstated or overestimated, right? When we think about the matching and blessing, in many ways, it's the most important decision, especially in our young lives, right? And I say matching and blessing because I think it's important. that's a very kind of church term, right? It's a term in our community. And obviously, if you're trying to explain it to people outside the church and outside the community, the kind of nearest equivalent is dating and marriage, right? But or in lots of parts of the world, they do have arranged marriages, which might be comparable, right, to matching and blessing. But the reason I think, these two things are very important is the matching is really about the process to prepare for the blessing. And that's what really makes it a very important kind of growth process and learning process. And again, kind of coming back to really testing what we really believe, what we really want, right? Where is our life of faith actually at? And I think one of the most dangerous things in this matching process, which I've seen a lot, is when people are forced into it or pressured into it, right? So I think a very important element of the matching process is that everyone is taking responsibility for their faith, for their matching, for their blessing, right? One of the most dangerous things is when someone's forced into it, right? Because faith has to be genuine. It has to come from your own heart. It has to be what you really want, really believe. So yeah, the process is really important because it's really about taking responsibility for the matching blessing. It's about you really deciding, making that important decision in your life of faith. So on that note, I want to go a little bit into kind of the elements of the matching process, and I want to talk a lot about motivation. But like I said, I want to first pause here for a minute because Mandy has some interesting experiences, and we've kind of decided to do a split service together. But I think it's very related, and they kind of tie in together. So I'm going to invite Mandy up to the front, online, of course, through Zoom. And her physical representative here in the room, Dylan, will put her here. There she is.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, Mandy, take it away. I'm going to give you a 10-minute warning and then a 15-minute warning.
Okay, it's very hard because I really have some stuff I'd like to share. So I hope I can do it as quick as I can.
Well,
Okay.
I'll do 15 and 20 then. We'll push it
Okay,
to
I'm just going to share my screen with you. So let's see, I want to share this. Now, can you see my PowerPoint presentation, or are you still looking at me?
We see the PowerPoint presentation, but it's not in
Okay.
presentation mode.
Okay, then so we'll just play this. So slideshow play. Okay, can you
There we
see
go.
me?
Yep, perfect.
Oh, go back. So anyway, this was the blessing. I'll just speed it up. So you heard from Dylan. There they are in the middle, and these are all the European couples. And it was an incredible ride to end up being there. Amazing. And I'll just speed on to the things that really, oh, how do I get my slideshow? Sorry, one moment. So that's the group. But then let's move on to me, no, to us as parents. So myself and Kirill and Jung's parents, Julius and Jasmine, that's another element of the blessing, that also it's not just, you're not losing actually a son, you're gaining a daughter and a family and all of the other things that go along with it. So we, luckily enough, we actually get on very well together. So we had a great time in Seoul, and that was just really just a nice experience together. But what really impacted me is not so much our big heads here, but when we arrived towards Cheongpyeong. I haven't been in Cheongpyeong for quite a while now, but when you arrive and then you see that this is the interesting part here, the Cheongwon-gyeong. We're at the top of the tree of blessing in this picture. But when we arrived and I saw, it's huge, the immensity of the Cheongwon-gyeong, and I just thought, my goodness, even the palace, which seemed big before, seemed small in comparison. And it's so bright and white and this amazing structure. And I just thought, my goodness, look what Mother has actually accomplished, or what we're, you know, in many different religious ideologies or points, we're waiting for this Solomon's temple to be rebuilt, the final temple, the temple where God can dwell on earth. And I just feel just incredibly in awe and just blown away that Mother, in spite of losing father, in spite of all of the difficulties, and she does mention it was like searching for a needle, you know, in a sandstorm. But really, how difficult is it to find that needle in a sandstorm? And when you see what's happening in Chongping, or you see the fruits of what's happening in our movement, I just think, you know, it's incredible. It's incredible. And it's a time that we can really be proud. It's a time that we can really just be grateful and to be a part of this, because now is a time when we actually get a chance to do something of value. We get to contribute. We get to really come together and welcome, you know, the only begotten daughter. We welcome the true parents. We can actually do something. We can roll up our sleeves and contribute. Whereas in the future, if you look at any of our texts or content or movements, it's so vast and so amazing. I'm sure if people actually got beyond the barriers that they heard the divine principle, or they saw the work that we're doing, many people would be liberated, would want to be involved. So in the future, I'm sure we'll be fighting each other to do stuff. But for now, there's space to do stuff, guys. Anyway, so that was, you know, looking at the immensity of the Chonwon-gyeong, I just think it's incredible. We're part of it. It's historic. I hope the whole Irish church can get it together and all of us go there for that historic moment next year. And then I just wanted to read again the prayer, you know, from the 1st of January. So the year of the Blue Dragon, the 12th year of Chonil-guk. In this year of the Blue Dragon, all negative energy will dissipate. Wow, dissipate. And now as we are approaching the 13th year, a number symbolizing completion, we must finalize all aspects of the entrance ceremony into the Chonwon-gyeong and the Cheongil Sanctum. Just as the heavens have blessed us with pure white snow, completely free of shadows and negative energy, this year is of great importance. Therefore, we must all unite for the sake of the providence. And I think even here on a micro scale in Ireland, we've already hit the year with a bang. We've already had a great special great works held in the centre. 15 central evil spirits liberated, coming together, a recognition of the incredible spiritual fortune available to us at the moment with the Chonshinwon, with the prayers, with them. It is all there for us. If we want to feel good, if we want to feel, the main thing that came to me recently is to be satisfied. We need to feel satisfied in our life, and then we want to help others. We want to move on, and we have all the tools there to help us reach that. I'm sorry, let's move it on quickly. This was the second point that really impacted me. Oh, really quite deeply, actually. When we were waiting for the blessing, it was obviously True Parents' birthday as well. So Mother came out onto the stage. And when Mother came to the stage, she was left on this huge, immense stage. And then she was totally alone, and she didn't have a chair and she didn't have a cane. And I thought, what are they doing? How can they leave Mother? She's 81 now, standing there. So then all of the leaders and the children and the people presented their gifts to True Mother for her birthday. But while I was standing in the audience, it was going on, and my legs were really hurting me. And I was thinking, I wish they'd hurry up, you know, and just so we can sit down. But mostly I was thinking, how is Mother standing there with not even a cane? And I remembered as well, Father, when he would speak for 15 hours or and some of the sisters would say, please, I can see Halvard nodding because Halvard was there, dying, probably suffering in that audience. But then the sisters were saying, please, Father, sit down. But Father couldn't sit down. He said, even if my legs are black, even if everything is, I have to share this news. And I think we have incredible champions for God. I can't think of anyone else, a man or a woman, to represent God more beautifully and graciously and creatively than true parents. And the other thing I really want to point out, looking at Halvard there, is we have such a wealth here in Ireland of resources. And I'm talking about our early members. When the things that they have accomplished, the foundations that have been laid, most people would run away, but they stayed here and they continued, even though they are pioneering, and we're still in that state of pioneering now. So I really, really want to respect and honor our elders because they gave up their chance of education, of working, of making money. And sometimes maybe our second gen feel a little bit sorry or even a bit resentful because they didn't have a lot of things that maybe other people in society did. But we have champions behind us, really. So I'll just skip over that. That was well, I won't actually. This is Mother on the 1st of January with the True Family. And again, this was her prayer. And the year of the blue dragon, this is the year that will dissipate. Anyway, it's hopeful. It's a hopeful. So, oh yes, that's the next slide. So this was another point that really struck me. So Mother finished her meeting on the 1st by saying, so let's enter this hopeful 12th year of Chonil Guk, fully prepared in every way with perfect order and organization are due. So it's not like let's kind of clean up a little bit, or it's like perfect order and organization. And the good news is we're on track. We have really gutted the center spiritually and also externally with all of the wiring, and it's in a it's in that state. It's gone right back to the core, right back to our bone marrow, to the core of our Irish movement. And I am really inspired to see where we go from this. And there is a lot of work, and there is a chance to really contribute, pull up the sleeves, get together. A lot of the work we could do with our own manpower. And there's people abroad who are willing to come and to help us. So yesterday we had a meeting, and I'm sure if we have more meeting, communicate well together, we can have an incredible peace embassy and a very exciting future. Very quickly, a few of us did a golden wish paper. We really want Ireland's heavenly fortune to break through and to reach that. So this was you receive a card. This was the card I received. The human conscience is the aspect of the mind that represents heavenly parents. And this, when I went to the Chonil Gung, is I can't read it now with this. Hang on a second. It's just a little bit more about that. So the revolution of the conscience is an internal revolution. It requires us to obey absolutely the voice of our conscience. All of you still face the internal struggle between your conscience, which prompts you to do good, and your physical desires, which tempt you to do evil. In order to end this shameful internal struggle, you have to understand clearly the position and action of your conscience. Your conscience knows everything you do and everything you think. You cannot add or subtract anything. Nothing can be hidden from it. It knows before your teacher does. It knows before your parents do. It knows even before God does. When you disobey your conscience, you feel conscience-stricken. Then dust sticks to your spirit and stains and scars appear. Such scars are a heavy burden that you take with you to the spirit world where they can never be erased. Therefore, I tell you, you need to control your physical mind with a revolutionary determination and be guided by your conscience until the day you go before God without any speck, with a clean and clear spirit. Originally, the mind and body were meant to be inseparable in total oneness. The human mind was supposed to be God's mind, and the human body was supposed to hold it as a container. However, due to the fall, human beings turned their bodies over to the devil and have been his servants ever since. The human conscience is that aspect of the mind that God represents. It does not exist for itself, but for the sake of God's righteousness. It constantly seeks the direction of goodness. The body rebels against this. It seeks only physical comfort. It is selfish and instinctively follows carnal desires. The conscience chastises the body and tries to make it conform to the mind. This is why bitter conflict occur within oneself. Aha. Where are we? And that's, let me stop sharing for a moment. So, sorry, I don't know how to stop sharing.
You did stop sharing. We don't see it. See you again.
Click. So do you see me?
Yeah, we see you again.
See you guys. I've lost you. Okay. How do I end this? Hold on, I think I've done it. Go away. Right, okay, so
okay.
Right, what are you saying, Eli? Minutes? Minutes?
No, you're halfway, 10 minutes left.
Okay, oh my goodness. So anyway, that was the point of Korea that really struck me, and I just was really thinking about our situation in Ireland and our brothers and sisters. And yes, we've had some challenging times, and I do think we are in a spiritual war, and it's no wonder that we seem as each other's enemies. But actually, if we united together and if we brought God's spirit down, then we'd be unstoppable. We have an incredibly talented bunch here in Ireland. We have amazing second gen, and we have amazing first gen. So I really, really hope that we can go beyond any personal difficulties and really recognize that's here for us to learn. These are our best friends to help us actually understand how to become more rounded and resonating with God. And the other point going forward is with the if I want to talk about the Women's Federation, so I'm going to share my screen again. That's another thing that we've have Muriel Malloy and then Doris both invested so many years and so much sacrifice to establish Women's Federation. And I'm so grateful that actually, because of that, we have Women's Federation here in Ireland, and we're hoping to organise a get together at the end of the month, which everyone's will be invited to, and we really want to honor our first elder sisters who have laid this foundation, and then we're entering into a new phase of Women's Federation based on that. So recently, Carol and myself went to the European Executive Board meeting, and I was blown away. The standard of our elder sisters, the work that's happening within our movement is incredible. It is so inspiring. We've just inherited an incredible curriculum, which we're hoping to meet with the sisters. I'm saying the sisters, but actually, really, it's more than the sisters. We really want to, this is a movement that's very close to Mother's heart. This is Mother's initiative, only Mother, and it really is in connection with revealing the only begotten daughter. We have never had an only begotten daughter appear in this physical world before, and we can see that the whole of humanity is suffering and waiting to see that mother appear. We're all suffering. Every one of us comes from a mother, and all of us are suffering that mother hunger, that we didn't receive really that feminine divine God's love, perfect energy. So this is an incredible thing that is going to be coming through Women's Federation. And one of the sisters, elder sisters, was mentioning, again, we talk a lot about Cain and Abel, but she was saying, you know, where was the mother? You know, when Cain and Abel, when this was happening, where was the mother? Actually, there wasn't a mother, and there hasn't been a mother until now. And Jesus was victorious, and we had the Holy Spirit, but now we have incarnate in our own true mother, a physical representation on this earth of that divine feminine energy of God. And that's the wave to bring the healing. That's the wave to bring us all together. And that's the way to also empower our young women. And there's an incredible vision, and also to take care of our environment, to take care of our planet. So I'm just going to share quickly this video. It's only 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. Can you see this video?
There's 5 minutes left, Mandy. Yeah, we can see it. So it'll be
Well,
2
this
minutes.
is only 2 minutes. So
You have 3 minutes after that. So you're doing
okay,
good.
and then we'll round it up. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Does the sound come through? Let's see.
I hope so. I haven't. Can you hear?
We can hear.
Good. Hello? Okay,
Yeah.
so that was a little snippet, but the main thing was in that meeting, there were so many really fruitful discussions. And for Women's Federation, we have a lot of support from Europe. There's an incredible curriculum that took 6 years to finally put it together. That's now available. We want to launch the young professionals, and there's so many opportunities for volunteering, for also gaining experience, working with an NGO, working with our offices in Vienna, New York, and Switzerland, Geneva. So there's incredible opportunities for volunteering. We're also going to be launching a membership, and also some eco products and some ideas of some fundraising and many things. So I'm hoping that I will call to all of the sisters in Ireland, and we just want to get your feedback, see where you want to go. And yeah, we're excited. We have a lot of possibilities, and we have a lot of support. So hopefully that will be happening soon. And Mitty is also wanting to come over at the end of the month, which I'll talk with the sisters and arrange a date. And hopefully everyone, the sisters and the men folk and the young ones, can come together and have a bit of a handover session at the end of the month. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, man.
Hi.
That was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Back to
Perfect
you.
timing. So thank you, Mandy. That was great. And it was a little bit of a risk to do a joint service, but I thought Mandy really wanted to share because she won't be able to come next weekend, and it kind of takes away from the time from further you are away, the harder it is to remember and give a testimony. And actually, I'm actually very kind of moved by Mandy sharing so much about Champyong and about Mother's Vision, because she was in Korea for Dylan's Matching and Blessing, but like her heart is really, she wasn't hyper focused on that in her testimony. She was really sharing about, the broader providence and how it how all of us, it's like really a great time to be alive, and how all of us should be, aligned to this vision of the future in an ideal world. And so that point I want to take and kind of tie into the second part of kind of my Matching and Blessing service, which really comes into, I think there's many parts of the process of Matching and Blessing. And I think the matching process is actually just a kind of extension of every part of our life of faith. It's not something that's that different, that unique. It's just more focused and more, let's say, intense, right? And I think, one of the main elements there is motivation, right? What is our heart, right? And I was saying before, like, it's not something you can fake. It can't be something that we just pretend we're doing or doing for something else. It really has to be from our own heart and our own motivation. And I think especially in the modern age, the other element of that motive, I think it's tied to motivation, but I'm going to put it as a separate point, is obviously centering it on a vertical direction, right? Or through our parents is kind of for most people, but for first gen, it's through kind of leadership and a matching process. But it's and then the third element there that I think is really important is, being able to have a spiritual element kind of come in and work, and to see some of that coming through. And I was actually kind of I very much like Dylan's testimony. I think it was last week, right, Dylan? And I don't want to put you on the spot, so I won't say too much, but it just really reminded me of my own kind of matching process. And me and Vicky haven't given our matching testimony in a really long time. Maybe we should do it again. But there were kind of key elements of that really struck me and reminded me of kind of back in the day, right? One of them, Dylan made the point of really trying to have this, heart that he's going to just trust his parents completely, leave it to his parents, right? And then it's, he was really kind of struggling, I felt from the testimony, with this motivation aspect. He really wanted to have the right motivation. And so then he really offered it to his parents, and he kind of asked his parents what to do. And, it just kind of reminded me of many conversations with my own dad and with my mom and stuff. And then I just felt that kind of spiritual confirmation bit, right? Where he really didn't want to ask, and his mom was pushing him. His parents were pushing him to send the message, so he sent it. And then the timing was like so perfect, right? It was like Jung received it the day her 40-day condition was starting, like in the morning. It was like overnight. So, and then kind of that's at the beginning, and then at the end, the kind of finding the heavenly fortune thing. And also, I think even on the stage, really talking about concern for mother and seeing mother and kind of aligning it to supporting mother. So, yeah, I just think, motivation, centering it on the vertical line and really trying to motivate spirit world to be part of the process. And the challenge with motivation is it can be good and bad. And actually, I really like the Hundake that Mandy was sharing, because it also was talking about the conscience and how the conscience is fighting to kind of get through the noise in our head, right? It's very much every part of our life of faith is this constant struggle. It's like the introduction, right? Is our mind and body is really conflicted. So that really comes in our motivation. Even when we have good motivation, oftentimes we have a little bit of selfish motivation there, and as it kind of mixed into it, right? We're very complex in our hearts and minds. And so motivation is all over the place, actually. And so part of the life of faith, part of the religious practice, is to really try to separate the good from the bad, really try to clarify our motivation is centered on God, and that our hearts are centered on God. And that's that's not just something in the process, it's something once you're blessed as well, right? In every relationship, when you're having, as you're growing, as you're learning to deal with each other, there's always the motivation aspects, right? I know sometimes me and Vicky I will annoy her, right? And I'll be annoyed that I annoyed her because my motivation was good, right? I was like, I wasn't trying to annoy you. Why are you annoyed? That kind of, sure, everyone can but if I actually stop and kind of segment, like if I reflect on my actions and my motivation, right, then there is always a little bit of, I was too afraid to ask, or I knew there was a risk or there was a chance it would be annoying. And then there's a little bit of fear, a little bit of, insecurity. And so, even though mostly my motivation was good, I really try to find like, well, where could I have caught that before, right? Where was the kind of bad part of my mind? And this is very much, in your life of faith, this is always the practice, like separating good and evil, kind of every day, every moment, trying to always align your motivation to God's will. But especially then when it gets to the really crucial parts of life, the matching process, that motivation becomes so critical. It's kind of something we have to always, if I could recommend one thing to everyone in a matching process, early stages of blessing, like get very, very good at evaluating your motivation, really checking, even if it's mostly good, look for the little bits that are confusing or knocking you off track. Because we're very confused a lot of the time, right? And we're very we're trying to figure out the right thing to do, and our heart is to do the right thing. Or sometimes our heart isn't to do the right thing, but to do the thing that makes us happy, and we're not sure why that is good or bad, right? So my final point on that is, and something I very much believe, is obviously there's kind of an ideal we're striving for, right? And, really there's probably an ideal way to do a matching and blessing. There's an ideal way to live, right, that we're all trying to live for. But there's also kind of, our reality, and we're trying to match the ideal, and sometimes it's hard, right? And sometimes it's too hard. And sometimes the question is, well, why should I do the ideal? And I think that's a question sometimes we overlook. But for me, I really believe there's a really good reason why the ideal is there, that we strive for the ideal standard and lifestyle and living. And it's not, I don't even think it's that abstract or that complicated, in that I think we strive for the ideal because it's the ideal that will make us happy, right? And I think that is, I think, an act of faith, but something I genuinely believe. The reason it's worth striving for the ideal is where happiness comes from, right? Love comes from God. The blessing comes from true parents. The lineage comes from true parents. So the things that can make us happy are in the direction of the idea, right? And I've given this analogy a lot to a lot of friends that, are kind of thinking about leaving the church or not sure if they want to get blessed or not. I'm like, I think sometimes we're very sheltered in our view of our church, right? Oh, the matching process is difficult, or the blessing can be difficult, or this life can be difficult being in the church, or we have these challenges or these pressures. But actually, all of life is difficult, right? And I think sometimes we don't see that because we only see what we're part of, right? And so I always say, unfortunately, you're going to suffer no matter what, right? So do you want to suffer in a direction, or do you just want to suffer kind of in limbo, right? And in the, just in space, right? And so I really see, like, if I'm struggling or if things are difficult, I really believe it's better that because it's in a direction, it's towards a goal, it's towards an ideal, right? So, and that becomes my motivation to, get through suffering, to accept suffering, to, in some ways, even enjoy the period of suffering, right? Looking into the future. So my conclusion, the conclusion I want to make is just that, it's a sensitive time for all of us, as a community. A lot of young people a lot of emotions, a lot of hormones, the whole thing, right? And I haven't said that in a long time, but like I'm looking at a bunch of hormones, right? So I just think it's very important that, you know, we're supporting each other and we understand like we're all at different, you know, we're all at different stages, we're all at different kind of understandings, but you know, you also have a lot of support around you, right? And I've said this many times as well to people. I know I'm very busy. You know, I really want to be approachable, but I'm often not, and I understand that. But when it comes to anything related to like relationships and matching and blessing, like it, I'll do as everything I can to make the time, right? It's like the most important thing, I think, for our lives of faith, for our community, for our own happiness. And we need the help, right? And sometimes we don't realize we need the help, but we always need the support. You know, ideally the support comes from your parents, then your brothers and sisters, your closest friends. But you know, if those aren't working, then you know, you have your pastor to kind of hopefully fall back on a bit, right? And you know, other friends, wider community and stuff. So so I just want to close on that thought. Like we all need support, but for everyone, like really, yeah.
Eli.
She want to say something?
Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
We're sharing this tag team thing. No, there's just one thing I wanted to share and to add to is actually the most incredible thing, and for me particularly over the last year, is experiencing God, you know, really substantially in my life. And I think it's thanks maybe to Ty. I don't know why, I don't know the timing, I don't know why now, but Ty was really stressing the importance of prayer. And for me, my prayer life is always just having a chat. You know, I have a very casual relationship with God, you know, and we'd be chatting. It wasn't really that deep, you know, prayer thing, and I couldn't quite connect it. But then it's only recently that I really started, even though we're still very casual, but it's still, I feel God's love. I feel God's presence. God, I'm emotional, sorry, but I really do. I really, really feel it. And I feel, you know, when we were talking about the conscience is the place you can't hide it. So this is something people take drugs and drink and whatever because you want to remove or to find that place. But honestly, you can get high on the Spirit of God. You can feel something absolutely incredible. And nobody knows your heart, your suffering, your pain, your joys as God does. And it's really available. And I don't know if it ties in with mother and establishing the Chomonggyong. I'm not quite sure, but I really feel myself guidance and things are really coming to me. I don't know the end story, but I feel every day things come in front of me, coincidences left, right, and center, and it's extremely interesting. So even if you're in a terrible situation or it seems like everything's going wrong, you know, not necessarily. You know, it's something, just a tweak of the mind and that connection. Once you have that connection with God, you'll never go wrong, because then you can ride all those other waves that are coming. But it is available, it is there. And I really would recommend the Chonshim one. If you're having difficulty experiencing that, like you should be feeling like feeling something. If you're not, then something's not quite clicked into place. Go to someone who's feeling it. Go to the Chonshim one. Go to something, because you should be on a high, not a high, but you should be feeling that support, and you should be witnessing miracles every day. And then eventually God wants, especially our young people, to have that happiness and to have their perfect partner, you know. So, and don't worry also, I really didn't like my partner and I thought it was a mistake, but actually now, after how many years, coming up to 30 years, I'm just beginning to like my husband.
That's
there's
not longer than just beginning. You liked him at least 10 years, Mandy.
Oh yeah, I've liked him a bit longer. Sure, how could you not like him? He's
Yeah,
great. He's great. But anyway,
You
I
didn't know
just
what you were
wanted to
thinking, what you were upset about. He was great.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
emphasize that point, that God is really available to us. Use the resources. Don't suffer alone.
Yes, and thank you, Mandy. And that kind of ties to the final point I was making is that, we should never feel alone. And I think that's very important. Whatever kind of stage we're at, we have support. You have people that love you, people that care about you. So we're kind of all in this together. And that's kind of the main point I wanted to end on, with all the points coming through and the testimony shared, right? So thank you, everyone. I'll close with a prayer, if everyone can join me in prayer. Salam